Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV. Welcome to another live show. Hope everyone is doing well. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe if you are new round here. All of that good stuff. You people know what to do. Yeah, we are in the midst of the international break. Obviously, Thomas Tuchel's England will be in action on Friday night against Albania. So at least that's something to look forward to. A little bit more than usual in the international break. But yeah, as always, there's still a few bits and pieces to go through, guys. We've obviously got the latest of the Cole Palmer scan results. Still waiting for those, although there have been one or two reports suggesting that an initial scan result has already come back and they're waiting for the result of a second scan. Not sure if that is or isn't the case, but we'll go through that anyway. We've got the latest, obviously, with Jadon Sancho. And people are seemingly losing their minds over some Reece James comments about Thomas Tuchel being the greatest, being the best manager he's ever worked under, which people are then automatically assuming, oh, that means that he hates Enzo Maresca. You can tell it's the international break. You can certainly tell it's the international break. So there we go. Yes, big up, brother. All good, all good. I hope you're well. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. Is everything good, guys? Can you hear me all right? Is everything okay? Is the picture a bit weird? Are we what are we saying here? Am I looking a bit pixelated or not? Let me know in the chat, guys. But yeah, it is nice to have a little bit of a break from Chelsea. That is nice. You know, things haven't been going particularly well at this point in time. You know, we've lost three of our last 5 games. We haven't picture's a bit pixelated. Guys, bear with me. I'm gonna come out and come back in. Bear with me, people. Let me just turn this off. I'll be back. Right, we're back in business now, guys. We're back in business. Let me know in the chat if we're looking good here. Let me know, guys, just to make sure. I've just done a quick on and off on the old internet, so let me know if the internet is interneting. Better. Fantastic. Yeah, what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, let's say hello to a few people. IQ and our fan base isn't the greatest at times, bro. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yes, big up, big up, big up. Hope everyone's doing well. But yeah, guys, let's just, I mean, I don't even know why I need to address this, but I'm going to address it anyway. So obviously there's people losing their minds about these Reece James comments. Reece was asked in an interview whether Thomas Tuchel was the best manager he's ever played under so far in his career. And obviously, like, if you've not seen the clip, it has now been ITV have now taken the clip down from their social media. But yeah, you could tell when he was asked the question, the interviewer said, you know, if you don't answer that, if you feel uncomfortable, and he was a little bit not wanting to answer it, and then he said yes, and then he said, you know, because we won trophies under him, he made us believe in a difficult period, blah blah blah. Not a big deal, you know. What do people expect him to say? What do people expect him to say? You know, it's not even that big a deal. It really isn't that much of an issue. He's hardly going to say that Maresca is the best manager he's ever played under when they've not won anything together yet, and they haven't even spent a season together. He played his best football under Thomas Tuchel, and he won the Champions League. it's hardly a shock that he said Tuchel is the best manager he's played under. That doesn't mean that he thinks Maresca's shit. Doesn't mean that he hates Maresca. It doesn't mean that he hates Graham Potter. Doesn't mean that he hates Frank Lampard. Doesn't mean that he hates whoever else he's played under. You know, just because you think someone is the best manager you've played under doesn't mean the other ones are shit. And so I get it. It's international break. People are bored, and they want to try and make a big deal out of something that really isn't. So yeah, it's not a big deal. Now, obviously, clip's been deleted, clip's been taken down. I wonder I don't know if Reece said after that interview, actually, do you know what? I don't feel comfortable with that going in, or if Chelsea have contacted ITV or something like that, told them to take it down, or what else, or ITV have maybe seen some of the reaction on social media to it and thought, oh, maybe we better take this down just to sort of, stop any issues. I don't know what's going on with my internet. Why is it so shit? I'm lagging, for fuck's sake. No, we're gonna switch this up. Bear with me, people. We're gonna switch to the phone because this is bullshit. Shit. Right. I think we might be in a better situation now, guys. Are we in a better situation? Let me know. Is that better? Is it better? It looks a bit better, I think. I mean, I don't really know. Can you guys let me know? That would be wonderful, because right now it's all fucked. Yeah, what the fuck is going on here? What is going on? It's not any better at all. Oh, better now? Better now or not, guys? I need to know. So if you could let me know, that would be fantastic. Yeah, I hope this is better. Oh, for fuck's sake. Internet moving mad. Internet is moving mad. What is going on? I'm in minus 4K. Right. I think we've sorted this out now. Anyway, yeah. What are people saying in the chat? Much better. It's better. Good, good, good. Yeah, fair. I mean, it's quite difficult to disagree with that. Quite difficult to disagree with that. There's no denying that. What else are people saying? But yeah, anyway, I thought I'd just quickly share my views on the Reece James comments. It's not that deep. It's not a big deal. People just need to, get outside a bit more, think about different things, do something else. Ultimately, you can't control how people are going to react or how people want to interpret things. But yeah, this is really not a big deal whatsoever. And we will just leave it at that, I think. I mean, look, we can discuss this. I think you can criticize the manager for a lot of things, and rightfully so. But to say that he's not improved any player is a lie and disingenuous, because Cucurella has improved massively under him. And Cucurella is performing at a better level than he finished last season at. So Cucurella has improved. Nicholas Jackson has also improved. I would say that Noni Madueke has improved as well. I would say that Moises Caicedo has improved. And I would say that Enzo Fernandez has massively improved as well, and is playing the best football of his Chelsea career. Now, people will say that Cole Palmer has regressed. Okay. And I understand people saying that. However, did people really think that Palmer was going to be as good as he was last season? Because I didn't. I didn't expect the same numbers and the same level of output. I didn't expect him to have uh, the same influence. I expected there to be a small drop off. I expected his output to be slightly different. He's playing in a system that where we have more control, where it's less of an end-to-end game. And obviously there was going to be less output. He's still got 20 GNA this season. It's not bad. It's not bad. So what are people basing Palmer regressing on? They're basing that on his dip on his dip in form, which was going to happen under whatever manager would have been in charge. Palmer was going to undergo a dip in form. So it's a cheap and lazy argument to say that Enzo Maresca is at fault for Enzo Maresca is the reason that Palmer's regressed. Palmer was always, in my opinion, was always going to have a drop off in form, regardless of who the manager was. You aren't going to consistently play at that high level week in, week out, season after season. You are going to go through difficult spells. So I don't buy into that. Oh, Maresca's made him worse. People are only saying that because A, the numbers are less, and B, because he's on a poor run of form at the moment. But he's still contributed the most in terms of our attacking numbers to the team. Well, look, people are pinning James is not worse because James has barely played. Gusto, the system doesn't help him because it doesn't have overlapping fullbacks in him. So I understand that. Yeah, sure, they might have been on their way to being good, but they've got much better under Maresca. Look, if you're going to be critical, it's fine, but let's at least be genuine and let's not be disingenuous about these things. Well, look, maybe Cucurella and Caicedo would be great under any manager. Possibly, maybe they would, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they've improved under Maresca. You can't just say, "Oh, they'd be great under any manager." Fine, maybe that would be the case, but that doesn't mean that they've not improved under Maresca. Is my point here? So that's the point that I'm making, guys. Is that look, no one's happy with how we're going right now, but what I find funny and what I disagree with, right, is people are saying we've regressed, right? But then this time last season, we got smashed 5-0 by Arsenal. This time last season, we were drawing 2-2 against relegation-threatened Burnley and Sheffield United. One thing I cannot stand is the Pochettino revisionism. It's a complete waste of time. It's a complete waste of energy, and it's a completely pointless conversation to have. Why are people constantly bringing up Pochettino? We were nowhere near the top four with Pochettino. Nowhere near. Nowhere near at all. And people saying, oh, it was entertaining, the football. Sure, because there was no structure, no control. It was end-to-end basketball type stuff. Yeah, okay, the games might have been more enjoyable because there were more goals, but they were chaotic. It was just pure vibes. And, you can't sustainably over the course of a season play end-to-end basketball style football and expect to get any sort of decent results. And that's exactly what we were. We were a basketball side. And now people are doing Poch revisionism when the guy is openly saying that he loves Tottenham and he wants to go back to Spurs. It's mad, isn't it? It's mad. It really is. Obviously, people are absolutely entitled to their opinions. Everyone's got their opinion, but for me personally, I just feel that is utter nonsense. I feel it's utter nonsense to talk to bring up Maresca, to bring up Pochettino. You know, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And another thing, which is I guess, you know, part of a problem with society today, is that if people have a different point of view or a different opinion, then people have lost the ability to interact and to debate and have constructive conversations. If they disagree with you or you have a different opinion to them, they'll call you a clown. They'll say, "Oh, you're paid by the ownership. Oh, you're clueless," because they are unable to interact and they were unable to have a conversation and a debate. You know, I've got no problem with people disagreeing with me. But what I find strange and what I find funny is how, if you've got a different opinion to someone and you see it in the comments, "Oh, Charlie, you clown, this and that," you know, it's like, is that where we're at right now? That we have to resort to school playground insults because you are incapable of having any debate or accepting that people might have a different point of view to you. It's mad. It's mad, but this is where we are. This is where we are, guys. I mean, look, the manager's not going anywhere. So it's a complete waste of time and energy moaning about the manager. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's a complete waste of time and energy moaning about the manager. Do you get what I'm saying, guys? Like, what's the point? What is the point of moaning about the manager when he's not going anywhere? And where was this energy last season? You know, where was the energy last season? There were people that were backing Poch, and I backed Poch, you know, right up till the end. And now these people don't have the same, are now not having, are bringing a totally different energy to this manager. The same people that backed Pochettino to the final day are now turning their back on Maresca. Why? Why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? That would be, look, if we don't finish in the top 5, then it's a problem, and it wouldn't be a good season. I don't believe we're going to get knocked out of the Conference League. You know, yeah, we're not playing well right now, but we are more than good enough to beat those teams that we are gonna that will be coming up in with the Conference League. Bro, no one's saying you don't have to accept anything. Do what you want, but there's got to be a realization of where we're at as a football club. You know, there's got to be a realization. People have got to understand the situation and have got to understand where we are as a football club right now. You know, it's not, Chelsea aren't what they used to be. This isn't the Chelsea under Roman Abramovich. This is not the Chelsea of old. Okay, so it's a complete waste of time asking for that back and asking for that. Okay, Chelsea's going in a different direction now, and whether people like it or not is kind of tough, because what's happening is happening, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it. And we need to be in the Champions League. And if we don't get in the Champions League, then that is a failure of a season. It's as simple as that. And that falls on a collective responsibility of the players, the manager, and the directors. So we wait and see how it pans out. Now, what I will say is that part of me thinks, and I thinks that regardless of what happens, he should still be here next season. He should still be here next season because yeah, bro. And I named you 4: Jackson, Caicedo, Cucurella, Enzo Fernandez. 4 players that have improved under Enzo Maresca. Very simple. Look, Tuchel wasn't sacked. You know, he didn't agree with the direction the club was going in, and they went separate ways. You know, it's unfortunate and it's a shame. We would have all loved Thomas Tuchel to be here, but let's not pretend that the league form under Tuchel was great, because the league form under Tuchel wasn't great either. Yeah, I think so, because we desperately need stability at the football club. We desperately need it, and we need stability with a manager. And so Chelsea have offered Maresca a 5-year contract. Maresca signed a 5-year deal. Chelsea believe Maresca is the right guy. If you then pull the plug after 1 year, then it looks again. This is people. I don't understand how people come to these conclusions. Tuchel didn't agree with the direction the club's going in, so the ownership decided to make a change. That's the reality. Also, the reality, we weren't doing that great in the league under Tuchel. That's not untrue. You know, not doing well in the league is not a Maresca thing. We didn't do that well in the league under Tuchel. We haven't done well in the league or been anywhere near winning a Premier League title since Antonio Conte at this football club. Okay, so let's not reinvent the wheel here and pretend that, oh, we're suddenly shit in the league under Maresca. Because it's not true. It's not true. I mean, look, it's impossible to tell. It's impossible to tell. No, look, I'm not defending anything. All I'm saying is that I believe that the manager probably should be here next season because we need stability. You know, what good is it going to do to start yet again? And then what I always say is the people that think the manager should go, name me a better realistic replacement that's going to come in. And give me some names. We've been a cup team for years. We've been a cup team for years and years and years. You know, that's facts. We've been a cup team for years. You know, we have got nowhere near winning the Premier League since we last won it. We've been a cup team since 2017. Going on 8 years now, we've been a cup team. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You know, and if you are level-headed, you get called a clown and it's this and that, paid and all this nonsense. Like, people are just so extreme. It's either manager's the best thing ever, absolutely shit. If you're not on one of those ends, if you're in the middle somewhere and you provide a balanced viewpoint and whatnot, nah, nonsense, rubbish. But yeah, look. I mean, I think a lot of. I mean, let's have a look at this because, look, I said after the January window, I didn't believe that Chelsea would make the top 5 because of what happened with the squad and whatnot. Because of what happened with the squad, and the run-in that we've got as well, the difficult fixtures. You know, we've got to do something that we've not been able to do, and that is we've got to somehow win big games away from home against decent teams. I don't particularly fancy us doing that. I have to be honest. I don't see us getting enough wins to do it. But having said that, and as I brought up on the screen, and let me just add the thumbnail because otherwise this is going to look shit. We do still have a chance, whether it's realistic or not. And I don't believe that we're going to finish in those positions. And I'm sure a lot of you as well don't think we're going to finish in those positions. And I understand that. But you look at what's going on here, right? And you look at the situation that we find ourselves in, and all the teams that we're competing with, guys, you know, all those teams we're competing with are not in good form either. They're not in good form either. So you've got, and Alexis has put this together, top 5 teams, last 7 games. 3 wins, a draw, and a loss for Forest. 3 wins, 4 losses for Chelsea. 3 wins, a draw, and 3 losses for City. 3 wins, 4 losses for Newcastle. 3 wins, a draw, and 3 losses for Brighton. 4 wins, 3 losses for Fulham. 2 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses for Villa. 2 wins, a draw, and 4 L's for Bournemouth. So you look at the teams that we're competing with, guys, and no one is consistent whatsoever. No one's consistent whatsoever. You know, 3 wins Forest, 3 wins Chelsea. So none of the, other than Fulham, no one between 3rd and 10th has won 4 games in the last 7. So this goes to show the lack of consistency with all these teams. Now, this is very much a race for the Champions League. Look how tight this is. Look how tight this is. You know, so here, 5 points between 4th and 10th. 5 points. Now, these positions are gonna constantly change every single week. You know, and I'm look, under no illusions, we've absolutely got the toughest run in. City aren't playing well right now, but I think they only play 2 teams in the top half in their last 9 games, and it's Villa and Bournemouth, both games at home. If I'm being honest, when I look at our games, if you're being honest, if you're being realistic here, guys, if you want to guarantee a top 5 finish, you probably need 5 or 6 wins from the last 9 games. You probably need 5 or 6 wins. I have to be real. No, they don't need to win Europa. Top 5 is confirmed. It's confirmed. Top 5. Top 5's confirmed. Top 5 is confirmed. So you need 5th place basically. Obviously, win the Europa League. So win the Conference League, and we're in Europa, which is great. Which is useful because you never know what's going to happen those last 9 games. We might not finish in the top 7. We might not. So to win that Conference League, to guarantee that Europa League football will take a little bit of pressure off us. Will absolutely take a little bit of pressure off us. But at the same time, we are capable of going on a run because we've done it earlier this season. We are capable of picking up wins and picking up results. But what I would say is, guys, is that, yes, we've got key players missing. Yes, having Lavia back. Yes, having Madueke back. And yes, having Jackson back will be a big boost, and it will absolutely help us, and we will be better in attack. It is also correct to say that even when we had the likes of Jackson and Madueke playing, we were also struggling. So I think people are putting a lot of pressure and a lot of, in my view, unrealistic expectation on the return of Jackson, on the return of Madueke, and thinking as soon as they come back, we're going to start winning games easily. I don't think that's going to be the case. It's going to take those guys time to get back up to fitness. It's going to take those guys time to get used to playing again. They've been out for a month, 2 months, or whatever it is. We'd love them to come straight back into the team and make an instant impact. Of course we would. We'd love it. But the reality is, guys, is that they probably aren't going to return and make an instant impact and give me the lift, give us the lift that we need. So there we go. By the way, guys, there's been a little bit of, let's say, breaking news. Let's have a look. We were talking about, I was going to mention this. Yeah, of course, we'd all love Champions League rather than Europa League. Of course we would. Of course we would. No, bro, we're not going to be in the Conference League again. We won't be in the Conference League again. I'm pretty sure of that. But this Palmer stuff. Oh, no, not that. Fuck's sake. Up here. So, Cole Palmer set for a second scan, clearer timeline to follow. Chelsea are hopeful. So he's obviously already had a first scan. So Cole Palmer set to undergo a second scan on his muscular injury, which has stopped him from joining up with England. Chelsea is said to be optimistic. A clearer timeline is expected in the coming days regarding the 22-year-old's recovery. Palmer missed the defeat against Arsenal. Mail Sport now understands he's set for another scan on a lower leg issue, as Chelsea hope he can be past fit to feature in the Premier League game with Spurs on April 3rd. It's been a demanding season for Palmer, who had started every other Premier League game for Chelsea before the weekend. Only Caicedo has featured in more of their league minutes than Palmer. He was also suffering from illness prior to this injury. While Palmer is not officially withdrawn from the England camp, on the off chance that he could join at some stage, Morgan Gibbs-White has already been called up in his place. There we go. So, Palmer's set for a second scan. Chelsea are optimistic. Optimistic Chelsea. Yeah, it's... No, bro, if we were in the Champions League this season, it would have been a big struggle. It would have been a big struggle. We would have been sent packing in the playoff rounds, or we would have been sent packing in the last 16 minimum. Oh, I don't think he's going to be out for a while. I mean, the first scan was said to be clear. I think second scan is maybe more precautionary or is seeing if it's another issue potentially. But look, you can look at it two ways. Maybe first scan's not showed anything, so they're going to scan a slightly different area. I don't know. Never ideal when you sort of see he's got to go for a second scan, clear timeline to follow. And, we've got reason to be pessimistic, guys, because injury news with Chelsea is generally not really injury history of Chelsea. That sort of news never tends to be good news when you hear a player going for a second. So we'll wait and see, guys. We will wait and see. No, bro, the Mudryk B sample still hasn't come back. I don't know where it is. I think some of these things get misconstrued or taken out of context, or because English is not his first language, things get a bit misconstrued. I'm pretty sure the quotes were he thought Fofana could be out for the rest of the season. I don't think he definitely said he was going to be out for the rest of the season. And again, maybe even if he did say that, I'm not saying this is true or not, but maybe that was the information that was originally given. Maybe if he had to undergo surgery, that would have been the timeline for the recovery, but he didn't do the surgery and the recovery was quicker. We just don't know. But yeah, obviously the information that we get about injuries never tends to be the clearest, does it? It always seems to be a bit wishy-washy, always seems to be not the truth the entire time. I think that is also fair to say. There doesn't seem to be an awful there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of truth, does there, guys? I mean, people is what's the internet? I don't know what's going on with my internet tonight. It's big problems. Are we still looking all right, people? Can you still hear me well? Are there any problems, guys? Let me know. The reason Cole Palmer's injured is because he's never had one single break this season. Look, injuries happen. Injuries happen. Caicedo's not had a break this season, really, and he's not been injured, It's unfortunate. Did we need to play him in that half against Copenhagen? No, probably not. And yeah, maybe in hindsight, that's a mistake. But apparently, he got the injury in the training session afterwards on the Friday. So I don't know. I don't know, but we've got to hope, guys, that this is nothing too serious and that he's back and ready to help us after the international break. Because if he's ruled out if he's going to miss games, after the break, then yeah, that's a big issue. That's a big issue if that's going to be the case, people. We've got to hope that it's not, but if that were to be the case, then it's going to make things even more difficult for us. Yeah, you could definitely have a case for that. You could definitely put that forward. Some of the player management has not been particularly good. Getting rid of Felix wasn't stupid. Not bringing a replacement was stupid. That's the big thing here. I haven't got a problem with players leaving in January, but if you're making the squad weaker and bringing no replacements in, it's just stupidity, and it's a gamble that is not worth taking. A gamble that is not worth taking. In Nkunku, there was interest in him. We wanted, I think, our asking price put people off. Simple as that. But when people say, "Oh, we should have kept XYZ player," right? people also need to realise as well that if players want to go, then there's no point keeping a player at the club that wants to leave. There's no point doing that. Now you can have a separate conversation about, why do players want to leave the football club? Why do so many players want to leave the club? Why do players 6 months after signing a 7-year contract want to leave? That's absolutely a valid conversation to be having. And that is, of course, a concern and something which, doesn't really make sense to me. No, he wasn't rotating him. And look, I get that, but people also need to understand that Palmer's probably the only player on the pitch that can make something happen out of nothing. So you are generally, you're going to leave him on. Now, whether that's right or wrong or not, I don't know. But at the same time, guys, I don't blame him for leaving Palmer in, because you want him to play, because he can make something happen out of nothing, and no one else in the squad can do that. I think the first was clear. They couldn't really find any issue in the hamstring. I think the second scan is more to do with whether the back is called, whether his lower back or anything is causing pain in the hamstrings. That's what I think the second one is. Yeah, exactly. Very rarely do managers sub their top players off. Very rarely, because you always, even if they're having a terrible game, they can just produce a moment of magic that can win you the game or can get you back into the game, which is why you leave these players on. Which is why you leave those players on. So yeah, look, we've made mistakes this season. Undeniable mistakes have been made this season. Am I surprised the manager's made mistakes? No, I'm not. This is a manager with 1 year's managerial experience at Leicester and then coming into the Premier League with Chelsea. Am I surprised he's made mistakes? No. Did I expect him to make mistakes? Absolutely yes. And the most important thing is, does he learn? Will he learn from his mistakes? I quite like Maresca, but as I've said on various different shows and various different platforms, is that there are things that he needs to improve. This not going for the game, not switching things up when you're losing and continuing to pass sideways and backwards and having no urgency in the game, that needs to stop. Arsenal, the prime example on Sunday. 10 minutes to go. We're losing 1-0. We need an equaliser. Let's commit men forward. Put Tosin up front. Let's go long. Let's do something different. Let's give them something different to think about. Maybe we get a lucky knockdown that falls to us somewhere or whatever. No, we continue to pass it backwards and sideways, backwards and sideways, backwards and sideways. Why? This heavy possession-based style of football, this style of football is obviously quite common in the modern game. I think it's just killing a lot of players and their natural ability and their natural instincts to try things. A lot of players are becoming a shadow of themselves. Now, look, Jack Grealish has won trophies at Man City. Jack Grealish was a key part of the treble-winning team. But all that creative ability and all that flair that he had has been coached out of him. Now, he might say, well, his trophy cabinet will suggest that, you know what, that was a good decision. But ultimately, Guardiola's coached all his creativity out of him because he wants him to do a certain role in the team. And I feel that there's a lot of players like that at Chelsea that are having their natural instincts and their creativity stifled by the system or coached out of them. That's just my opinion. Is that right or not? It's impossible to tell. It's impossible to tell. But there's certainly a feeling of that. Palmer's an instinctive player. I think, Madueke can be instinctive. Maybe Sancho to a degree as well. These players, I feel, are having creativity and instinct coached out of them. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We want players to play off their natural instinct. We want players' first thought to be to go forward. And I haven't got an issue if you try and take your man on, or you try a risky pass or whatever over the top, and it doesn't quite pay off, because eventually it will. I'd rather players do that than just this inane sideways and backwards passing. As I said before, you can put up with that football and that style of play if you're getting results. If you're winning, you can put up with it. If you're getting trophies, no problem. Where the problem does lie is watching this style of football and not getting the results, because this is the worst style of play to sit through and watch when you simply are not getting the results. It's dreadful. Have you watched the New Generation on Amazon Prime? No, I haven't. I've heard about it. Is it out now? I might watch it after this. Is it out now? But yeah, look, people moan about the style of football but not getting the results. I hear it. But people weren't moaning about the style of football when we were second earlier in the season. Now, I know we were seemingly playing in a slightly different way, but there was a mixture of both. We were playing on a counter-attack, and we were playing... that's it. It's boring because we're not getting results and we're not winning. That's why it's boring. Look, one thing I will say is winning football is not boring football. Yes and no. No, because it's Spurs and we always beat Spurs at Stamford Bridge. But yes, because we're not playing well right now. We're not playing well right now. So yeah, I am worried about most games that we play at the moment because we're bang out of form. So yeah, to answer your question, I am a little bit worried about the Spurs game. Yeah, I think he is as well, but that's up to him. That's his opinion. I don't agree with his opinion. Well, certainly not to that extent, but each to their own. Yeah, no, of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. Yeah, and look, hopefully that's going to make a difference, and hopefully, we're able to field that front four for as much of the remainder of the season as possible, and hopefully, we'll absolutely be better, and we'll absolutely be more of a threat. Is that going to be enough to win us enough games to get back into the Champions League? I don't know the answer to that, and only time will tell. Bro, we are out of form. We've got 2 wins in our last 5 games. We're not in good form. 2 wins in the last 5 league matches. We're not in good form. We haven't beaten a team above 15th in the table since December, I think it is. That's the reality, guys. We're not in great form. Our most recent wins have come against teams below 15th. Was it Wolves, West Ham, Southampton, Leicester? Our recent wins. So the last 4 months, we've not beaten a team below 15th in the Premier League. That's awful. Absolutely awful and shocking. Absolutely dreadful. And yes, I will stick up for this manager at times, but when you see form like that, it's inexcusable. Inexcusable. Look, I'm willing to give the manager time as well, but this end to the season is critical. If we don't win the Conference League and if we don't qualify for the Champions League, then that is a massive, massive problem. Massive problem. And I don't know what the solution would be. I don't know what the solution would be. I don't want to think about that right now. Yeah, we are struggling. We are struggling without them, and they will make a difference coming back for sure. Adding two of your three top scorers back into the side will make a difference. My thing is that will it make enough of a difference? And I think people have got unrealistic expectations on how much of a difference it's actually going to make. But again, only time will tell, guys. Only time will tell. But I hope it makes the difference we need it to make. Yep, something like that. Something like that. Oh, why is this? For fuck's sake. Yeah, it's yeah, not ideal at all. Not ideal. This has been a problem for a good while now. A good while. This has been an issue, massive issue. And it's something that's got to change. You know, you can't be a big football club like Chelsea and have a record like that. You just can't. I don't know. We should be expecting much more. Neto's not a centre forward, and Sancho and Kunku have been absolutely awful. Yeah, it's very difficult. If we win the Conference League and don't get Champions League, he'll be here. But if we don't win the Conference League, it's very difficult to make a case for him being here. But again, if we get Champions League football, then he'll more than likely stay. Look, ultimately, the messaging from the club that's coming out is very much that regardless of what happens, he will stay. Now, we know that things can change in football. That will obviously very much be the feeling now. Whether that's going to be the feeling come the end of the season, we don't know. And we know with Chelsea that things can change very quickly. And this all goes back to the recruitment and management. Yeah, absolutely. You know, look, ultimately, everybody in all areas of the club is responsible. Haven't been good enough. It's as simple as that. But we've got 9 games to try and rectify it. We currently sit 4th. That's what we need to do. Remain there. I mean, obviously, if we can, it's easier said than done, but we are still there right now. It's both. The current lineup is not great right now, and we're not playing well. But also, the current players that we've been putting on the pitch are good enough, in my view, to get better results. Or maybe they're not, and we've just, or myself or whoever, maybe we've just made out that these players are nowhere near as good as what we think we are. Perhaps I don't know, bro. It's been a long time. The last time, it's not happened in the last 3 years. If you're talking Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, and Man United, obviously, if you're talking those 4 sides, we beat Man United at home last season. Other than that, we're away from home. We have not beaten a Man United, a City, a Liverpool, or an Arsenal since 2021 away from home. And that win was against Arsenal at the Emirates 2021. Lukaku and Reece James with the goals. So yeah, it's been way too long. Bro, we're not going to see a system change. It's not going to happen. You know, this is the system that he wants to play. This is the system that he's been brought into play. He's not going to switch things up and change his mind. He just isn't. Now, do I agree with that? No, not necessarily. But it is what it is, isn't it? What else can we do, people? What else can we do about it? We're just going to have to hope that the players coming back is going to make a difference. And that's what we're going to have to hope for. Am I confident? I'd love to be, but I'm not. I have to be honest. I'm not confident. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree. If we can get Jackson and Palmer back to their best and playing well, then the form will definitely improve. If we get to Champions League next season, we've got, yep, agreed. Well, let's wait and see what happens. There needs to be some big decisions. Some big decisions need to be taken in the summer. Some big decisions need to be taken, guys. In the summer, we've got to be ruthless. Players have got to be moved on. Simple. We need to move these players on. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I agree. A good manager is about being adaptable and getting the best out of difficult situations. And I feel Maresca is not in that right now. I feel he's not doing that. So, yeah, that's on him. That's on him to prove us wrong. I hope he can. I hope he can. But look, hopefully this break will do us good as well, guys. It feels like maybe we needed a bit of a break. So let's hope that makes a difference. Let's hope that players play well for their national teams, don't pick up any injuries, and that the players that aren't on international duty, time to work on the training ground, work on new things. Time for Lavia to work on his fitness. I actually think Lavia's been called up by Belgium, actually. So, yeah, look, we just got to hope that we're going to be in a better position after the break than we were before the break. And it's a big game as soon as we come back from the break. Tottenham at home, first one up. Bang, need the 3 points. There's very, very little room for error now. Very little room for error. Now, I know we're not going to win 9 out of 9 games. I know we're going to drop points. I know we're going to lose games. But we have somehow, guys, the penny's got to drop. We need to get our shit together and go on a bit of a run. The way that this race for the top 5 places is looking, you can literally, if you string 3 wins together, you could put yourself out. You could put yourself in a very, very strong position. That's how inconsistent it's been. That's how massive just a few wins can be. Sancho and Nkunku have been so poor. No, it's not a centre forward, but we haven't got any other options. And I actually think he's done okay down the middle. But yeah, I think it's also a point that because none of those guys are a threat in forward areas, that maybe there's a hesitancy to actually move the ball forward quicker or try something more risky because we just haven't got the personnel. But you can always try. And a lack of trying is the problem. Is absolutely the problem. No doubt about it, guys. No doubt about it whatsoever. Fingers crossed that Lavia and Reece James never get injured. Yep, let's hope so. No, I think he did. Go. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I saw pictures of him. Bro, they won't listen. I don't know if there's going to be any further protests or not, if anything's planned before the end of the season. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's clear that the ownership aren't really that interested in what the fans think. I think that's very obvious. Yeah, no, bro, I hear you. But yeah, guys, we're going to round that one out there. Big up to everyone for tuning in. Guys, make sure you smash the likes on the way out. Subscribe if you're new round here as well. Be greatly appreciated. Thank you for tuning in as always, guys. And we'll be back again with more content tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good day tomorrow, guys. Up the Chelsea, and we're out. Peace.